Hello everybody and welcome back to another Rockabilly guitar lesson. And if you just had a déjà vu, don't worry about it. Nothing's wrong with you. You have seen me play this solo before. It was a couple of weeks ago when I released the Rockabilly jam track in E, played over a 16-bar blues progression. And apparently many people liked what I played and they wrote to me, requested a lesson. So today I'll show you exactly what I played over 32 bars. And I'll make sure to be very slow and precise on the Travis picking part because I know some of you may not be as experienced or have never played this style before, and it can be very intimidating at first. I also want to let you know that on next week's episode I'll have some special guests, so make sure to tune in. And if you never want to miss a lesson again, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. That will also give me the impression that it was worthwhile, worth the time to design this fancy graphic here. I want to say thank you to everybody who's watching, liking, commenting, sharing my guitar lessons, and a special thank you to all my patrons for your ongoing support. It helps big time. And now let's get to the lesson. Here's the Rockabilly guitar solo in E played over a 16-bar blues progression. And now I want to show you what I played in my Rockabilly solo. Let's start with the first 4 bars. Let's break these down, starting with a pickup here on the A string, 2nd to 4th fret, and then I play the 1st fret on the D string. Yeah? And I'm muting the strings already by placing my right hand just behind the bridge onto the bass strings for the characteristic muted sound. And I apply this technique throughout the whole Travis picking part. And that starts now. Let's have a look at the bass first. In the bass I just alternate between the E string and the D string. Yeah? And with my left hand I just grab a regular E chord here. I will do this for the first 4 bars. And for the melody I will pull the strings with my index and middle finger. Most of the time I use the index for the B and the G string and the middle finger for the high E string, but it can vary. Yeah, I will play whatever feels natural. So let's break down the first bar. On 1, start with a bass. On 2, I play the D string in the bass and the high E string open. Yeah, I pull it with my middle finger here. Then on 3, back to the E string in the bass. On 3 and I pull the B string, and on 4 I hammer on to the 2nd fret of the B string, and I use my pinky from the left hand here for the hammer on. And when the pinky goes down, this is the time when I play the last bass note here of the first bar. One more time. Then the second bar. Starts with a bass, again on 1. And the bass is always played on 1, 2, 3 and 4. Yeah? So on 1 I will also play the melody, and I use my pinky to grab the 3rd fret E string. And on 2 just the bass. On 2 and open E string. 3 just the bass, and then the hammer on again, just like in the first bar. One more time. And here are the first 2 bars played together. Then the 3rd bar sounds like this. So the melody starts on 2, and I just play the open E string. On 3 again, and then the hammer on, that you know by now. So let's put this together. Now we'll just count with it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the last bar. Both E strings on one. And on one end you do the hammer on the B string. And then again when the pinky goes down, that's when you play the bass here. Yeah? Then on 2 and, open E string, 3, the bass, 3 and, the B string. And here's the whole first row. So then for the next 2 bars I will play this here. And I'm grabbing a E7 chord here. It looks like this. I have my thumb wrapped around the neck on the E and the A string 7th fret. Then on 6 of the D string is the middle finger. On 7 the ring finger on the G string. Then on the 5th fret B string the index, and on the 7th of the high E string the pinky. And if you've never done that, you might have to practice the chord a little harder here to get the thumb clean on the E and A string. But I really like that chord and it sounds great, so it's worth the hassle, and I think you have time now, most of you anyway. So in the bass I will alternate between A, D and E and D string. Like this. Yeah, and let's break down the melody. So on 1, starting in the bass with an A string. Then on 2, D string together with the 7th fret E string, which is taken by the pinky. Back to the bass for 3. Then for 3 and, I pull the B string. And then I finish the bar here with a bass on the D string. One more time. Then in the next bar, on 1 I play the A and the E string, 1 and, the B string, 2 the bass, D string, and then I will pull the G string here on 2 and, yeah? Back to the bass. And then the high E string on 3 and the bass finished here on the D string. And let me repeat these 2 bars here. And then I play this. So I'm grabbing a B chord, and you might be used to this chord here, just the bar form, the bar shape. But I tend to play it like this. I have my thumb on the 7th fret here for the B, and then the ring finger takes the A and the D string together on the 9th fret, and then the middle finger is on the G string and the index B and E string. But you can also play a regular bar chord. And then I play both E strings, B string, and then the D string in the bass, yeah? And this is the pattern that we play throughout this whole part here, this whole lick. And I just move my hand to the 5th fret, to the 4th, and I take off my middle finger, so we have a G sharp minor and the 2nd fret. Even though it doesn't matter too much because we don't play the G string here. Then back to the E, while we play starting on 1 with the bass, on 2, D string in the bass, and I put my pinky again on the 3rd fret, high E string, then both E strings, open, and the open B string, followed by the bass. And then here's another E7 chord. It looks like this. I have my thumb again on the low E string, that's it, and then on the G string my middle finger on the 4th fret, and then the index on 3rd B string, and the ring finger on 4 of the high E string. Yeah, this is the D7 shape here. And in the bass I play alternating between the E and the D string, and you can play the open D string here because it's part of the E7 chord. Yeah, you're grabbing a D here as well. So I will play this. Yeah, I don't do anything with my left hand, and I just plug the E string, B string, and then the G string, and back to the E string. Yeah? Then to the A chord, where I play in the bass. I will just play A and D string, and you could also go like this. So it would sound like this. And I will start with 1 in the bass, and then on 2 play the 7th fret on the D and the E string, and the pinky takes the 7th on the high E string. Then on 3 I take the pinky off again. Then I play the B string on 3 and. On 4 is the bass, and then on 4 and the pinky goes onto the 8th fret B string. Then the 1 of the next bar, A string, pinky goes to 7, 2 the bass, then on 2 and I pull the G string here, bass again, E string and bass. These 2 bars together. And I will repeat the whole row here. And then the last row of finger picking sounds like this. So I'm starting on the low E string, then the D and maybe the G string as well. Then I run on the A string from open to the 1st and to the 2nd. And that goes right into the B7 chord. And here I play. So I have to move the middle finger here when it goes to the E string. So I play in the bass. One more time. And this might take some practice, especially when you add the melody. Yeah? Now let's break the bar down. On 1, we start with the bass on 1 end, holding the B string. 2, the bass on the D string. Then on 3, pulling the G string. Back to the bass, low E string, and here you move your middle finger. High E string, bass, and let's stop there. Then I hammer on the G string from open to the 1st fret, and that gets us right into the E chord here. For the last part. So one more time, the hammer on. And then on 1, I play the E string in the bass. On 2, D string and open E string. 3, the bass, and then the hammer on again. You know that one. Then in the next bar, open E strings on 1. On one end, the B string, 2nd fret. Again, I use my pinky here. On 2, it's the D string in the bass. On 2 end, open E string. And then on 3, the low E string. And then the Travis picking part is finished. And I will repeat it for you, the whole part. So the next part is pretty straightforward. It goes like this. So you start on the 5th fret, B string together with an open E string. And then at the end I play the open B string. That gives me time to get to the next position. One more time with the counting. You start on 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. Then to 7 and 8, and you can bend up the B string on the 8th fret always a little bit. Back to 5, 2 times to the 3rd fret, and then back and forth between the 3rd and the 5th. And you want to make sure the E string is always ringing. Yeah. One more time, the whole part. 1 and 2 and 3. Then back to the 8th fret, and you can do this with a slide. And it's back and forth between the 5th and the 8th, yeah? And then I finish this phrase here with open E and then the open B string twice. Then the chord progression changes to B and I play. So I hammer on from the 3rd to the 4th on the G string, which is of course the B, and I follow this up with the B string here. Then back to E and I play. Utilizing the blues scale, yeah? And I wrote down 9th fret, but you can, I mean, if you slide from the 10th or the 11th, it doesn't matter too much. So I used this a lot here, this position of the blues scale. I usually stop there, but you can also go to the D string as well. And let me show you how you can change, or let me show you some variations here. So here I went from the 12th to the 11th to the 10th, yeah. Or you can do a hammer-on pull-off here. Yeah, or maybe something like this. Yeah, play around with it and come up with other options, yeah, other licks. Just using the blues scale here. Maybe like this. Okay, then the chord progression moves to A and I play. Yeah, back and forth between A and this is a G here on the 12th fret of the G string, so it's implying an A7 here. And again you could do something like this, yeah. And then for the last part, I move to the familiar blues scale position here. (12 to 14). Then 12 on the E string, pull off from 15 to 14, 12th fret. Then on the B string, 15, 14, 12, pull off again on the G string from 15 to 14, 12 on the G string, then the D string twice on the 14th fret. No, it's 3 times actually. One more time, the last run here on this position, starting on 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then the last run starts here on the D string, 14th fret, hammer on from 12 to 13 on the G string, then on the B string, 12 to 14 and back to 12, and then on the E string, 12th fret, 14 on the B string and back to 12. And the whole last row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And here's the whole solo played at 100 beats per minute. 2, 3, 4, 1.